Hello, buongiorno, and dankeschön. This is the Inknote S, and why we're not doing an intro, why we're not doing any fancy edits is because this is not really that different than the Inknote. You will see it says the Inknote S on the back, but the only difference between this and the Inknote is the fact that it is slightly cheaper, anywhere between $20 to $40 depending on where you buy it, and it has less RAM. The Inknote has 6 gigs of RAM, this only has 4. Everything else is identical. You get the same firmware, you get the same pen, you get the same unit body with the cameras and everything. This isn't a Goyu variant where they get rid of the cameras or something like that. No. So with that, we're not going to look at every single aspect of this device because you can check the video card up above. It is the exact same thing, I promise you. We are going to check basically 2 things. Note taking to see if it is any slower or faster, and then videos in all of the speed modes. Because remember, Bigme does have a very nice e-ink center that has IMG 256, which is HD 256 or grayscale 256. So we're going to check that, HD normal, fast, and extreme. I love how their normal is already fast. They put like, oh, normal, but no, it's fast. They put the little parentheses there. Really funny stuff. So if you want to see reading and all that other stuff, just look at the video at the end of the end roll or in the description down below. I think they'll put a video link. We already took some notes to kind of test, but just for the sake of testing, let's see what we got. So we do have pen, pencil, brush, ball pen, and highlight on the side. You have toolbar open or closed, and you can expand this to do more things like template, shapes, photos, text, page, delete, and crop. So I'm just going to go brush and tap it again to get into the colors. They do have technically 8 colors. I mean, whites and grays and blacks and, well, darker grays and lighter grays. They are colors, or you guess you can say that black is all the colors and white is the absence of color. But splitting hairs, let's just go with a modest gray and see what we can see. I have been using Bigme devices from day one. I can tell you the RAM does not affect the note-taking latency. That was no difference. I'm sure if you got a 3000 frames per second camera, you went like this and you got both the Inknote S and the Inknote, and you went line and line, you'd probably see the Inknote being 0.0001 millisecond, nanosecond faster, but you are not going to experience any negative drawbacks, or the S variant does not come at a detriment to your purchase. It is totally fine. It is not affected by the RAM savings. Where the RAM savings could come into effect is multiple apps open at the same time and video playback speed, as that RAM does have a hand as well as processor. Everything does. If your storage is at full capacity, sometimes your devices like hard disk drives and solid states and NAND data, they can run more poorly if they're at capacity. So there is something to be said of always having more RAM, always having a better processor, and always having more storage. But let's look at all 4 video modes side by side and let's see what we can see. As this is a casual video, I will just kind of vamp. This is no different than the Inknote. If you guys are scrubbing through the video, the Inknote and the Inknote S, this one, is a price savings variant. Again, anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks, depending on where you're buying it from. This is cheaper because it only has 4 gigs of RAM, versus the Inknote that has 6. So if you wanted the top quality device, you get the Inknote. If you wanted to save a couple bucks because you're just taking notes, then you buy the Inknote S. Because Bigme has always made it so that they give you all the offerings. They have the Inknote Color, the Inknote Color Plus, the Inknote Color Plus Light. Then they have a fighter brand called Goyu, and they have even cheaper. For example, you can get a Goyu that's $200 off the cost of an Inknote Plus. It's just crazy. So Bigme has this trend and this kind of mannerisms as a company to always offer everyone every possible thing so that everyone can get their hands on essentially the exact same UI. The UI doesn't change. It's all the same thing. The only thing it changes on is, I guess, the read, and that's because it's an e-reader. So in the end, is the S any different than the rest of their line? No. Does all the same things. You get all the same materials and packaging, and you just have a different sticker on the back of the box.